I would not put an incredible degree of credence in Warhammer animation, anything sanctioned by GW. I don't feel like you're gonna get really any bang for your buck there. Mainly going off Ultramarines. Terrible movie. Terrible movie. The worst thing I've ever seen. It's not lore compliant, okay? There's no reason one entire strike cruiser would be lent for the mission of a strike squad or a little tactical squad. There's no way that could have been the protagonist's first mission, because he would have been a scout, an assault marine, and a devastator. I think even in that order before he was a tactical marine. So that's just preposterous. So there's no way it would be his first mission. Um, I don't know, just like every other contrived plot out there having to do the Warhammer storyline. The Inquisitor is a traitor! Oh, no! Like, I don't know. They did it in Dawn of War. They did it in Space Marine, which is a fantastic video game. They did it, they've just done it so many times that it's just. I mean, but here's the thing: is you want the reveal. Like, okay, maybe you see it coming. Maybe that you got Inquisitance is just paranoia that, well, they're all just bad, and that might even be a good game plan, to be honest. Well, you shouldn't be able to guess, or at least like when they do transform, they should be like, oh wow, that's horrifying and hideous, or like there should be something so disgusting there that even if you saw it coming, you'd be shook. That's really. That's what I'm into it for, and I just don't even remember what the reveal was. I think it might have been as simple as a Scooby-Doo unmasking or something, or he just like, I think his eyes just glow and he becomes a bad guy or something. So there's that, but then there's Hell's Reach, which is just great. It's this cell shaded animation thing, or something. They're using some. I don't know what sort of animation they're using, but they're using this filter over it, so it would turn normally what would look kind of bad into this kind of like almost surreal like sort of filter over the whole thing. It really just makes it great. It feels just its overall tone is that of an audio book, but like an animated audio book. That's the best way I can describe it. It's bridged the gap between. It's bridged the gap between like an actual Warhammer story and leaving the pages better, I think, than most multimedia has. And it's just a team of people that did it. They just like we've got a story to tell here on a different medium. So that's the way they took that. And I mean, you're really gonna find it's the standard. The next thing, this guy, the Startes. Almost everyone's seen him. I really like it. It's just like because he gets the power, the power relative like of the Space Marines. He gets it relative to the cultists or the Traitor Guard, whatever those guys are, like so well. I think that is the appropriate power level for the Space Marines, because like they really would be that lethal. I don't think the game does a perfect job of illustrating just how deadly it would be to have a hallway with cultists just packed in there against just even one or two Space Marines. And that comes down to balancing, and I don't know what the solution is there. But he got bought out by GW, and the meme that really just does it justice is like, oh, what are you doing with that Ultramarines blue paint bucket? And so, but even if he conforms to them like that, like even, at best, they're just going to loosely tell him what to do. But it seems like when they actually get their talents and things, they micromanage it and it just becomes a flop. Notable adaptations, though. There was like a golden age when THQ was in charge of the Warhammer games, and Dawn of War came out. I can't say I like Dawn of War as much as my friends do. It got them into Warhammer. That's great. The gameplay loop for me just doesn't quite do it. There is a stunning amount of detail and accuracy of lore compliance for units, how they work, um, how they look, what they do. Like it's really well detailed, and the story was cool enough, I guess. But there, I mean, really, if you total in all the expansion packs and this and that, there's plenty to do there. So that one's a great game. But for my personal, I think the best multimedia adaptation of Warhammer would be Space Marine. It's just so much fun. So much fun, Space Marine. You know, I was in a clan with 1,000 Suns, and the multiplayer was so fun because it really did feel like a Astartes versus Astartes like combat. Like there was a reason to go in with your jump pack because chopping them up a lot of times is better than shooting them, especially if they like to shoot. So Astartes was a lot of Space Marine was a lot of fun. The story was great. The story was just the way it worked. Like, and if you look at the cover of the game, if you actually look at the cover of the game, there's a demon. There's a bloodletter head on the cover. So they even give it away. It's not even that big of a secret. But how the game just like twists the chaos in the middle of it, I was like, wow, that's crazy. I thought it was just gonna be about the orcs. And that's so Warhammer. He's like, oh, and then another faction joins, and it's just like, oh snap. The online, I didn't get to play a lot, like some of the DLC because THQ, something happened, they got bought out, but they never came back. They never came back. Mechanicus was great, mainly because of the soundtrack. A lot of people like the soundtrack almost too much. I got sick of it, but I played it a lot. The game was cool. The only bad thing about the game is there's no classes, so basically you just figure out what the best build is, and every one of your Mechanicus men is just a clone trooper whose augments are identical to whatever genius you've selected of maximum lethality. The servo skull play is cool because like while you're doing things, your servo skulls can go around and do objectives for you. It feels really Mechanicum-y. But really, the gym in that one, and this game, the cutscenes are all two-dimensional. They're like cartoons, but in this game, the Magi, the Magoses, whatever, they when they speak, it sounds so cool. It sounds so cool, and their little heads bob and their lights like light up. But I'm telling you, it's fun reading what they say. Sometimes they say funny things too. Sometimes they say funny things. In fact, they say funny things pretty often. It's probably the most humor I've gotten from 40K. I don't remember exactly what they say, but it's a lot of really dry humor, and it's great. But yeah, they sound cool. I like Mechanicus. I like Space Marine. There's another game called Armageddon. It's a turn-based game. You have to be in a turn-based games if you like it. But you want to get that one, and you want to get the Catachan pack because that one's so fun. The Catachans, they play like lunatics. They really want to go. Yeah, they have no qualms fighting and dying against the orcs. The other DLCs and everything else is okay. You'll figure out after a while that the AI just the way the devs did it, the way they scripted it is pretty clever in a lot of ways, but you'll figure out how to make the AI work. But just the sheer number of units coming at you in waves. Hideous. I played a bunch of other games. I've probably played like, I don't know, so many other Warhammer games, and they've just never, there's really nothing of note. In fact, like most of them, at best, what you're going to get is a reskinned copy of another game. Even Armageddon is that. It's a reskinned copy of Panzer Corps. Yeah, it's a reskinned copy of Panzer Corps. Well, yeah, most games are just reskinned copies, and not a lot of heart and faith. And it really just seems like when GW, when a third party's making something, they'll just bless off on it. They'll just say, "Oh yes, yeah, just launch it. That sounds great." But when they're actually doing it and making it, they get so strict. And I mean, like there's this Necromunda game, and that game was so bad. So bad. The AI just didn't work. And now they're coming out with another one, and I'm just like, People are calling it a Doom clone, but the thing about Doom is it did something really magical, which I just would not put into the hands of Game Workshop of having the competency for that magic. But you know what? Honestly, for as much as I moan about this, it's a veiled blessing, because the only thing that Warhammer has nowadays is it's still a little bit niche. It's still a little bit niche, and that's because that's a direct result of the fact that there is very little competent multimedia. There's very little media out there to rope people in, besides the artwork, which is still pretty cool. I could boomer moan about this style or that style. Of course, I like the older, darker styles, but the artwork still looks pretty cool. And they got cool things like Mortarion or Abaddon fighting Calgar or Gilliman. It looks really cool, but they have not had any success marketing themselves in any really meaningful multimedia way in the last, I dare say, a decade or so, since Space Marine and Dawn of War came out. They just really haven't had any success, and that's a boon, because those normies that need to have that multimedia, like, quick delivery fix, all those Zoomers, it's keeping them away, because they only live in cyberspace. So as soon as they really start not screwing everything up, it's either like, yeah, I mean, look, the third party, honestly, it's probably just coming down to third parties that really know and love Warhammer, and I don't know. I don't know how hard it. I mean, I get, it's fairly difficult, I think, to truly grasp Warhammer, or at least I'm dressing that up just because I've been reading this stuff for, I don't know, over a decade now, and I probably got a good understanding 2 years into it. But I mean, then again, like, I was like a teenager or something, so it's different, but. It's a veiled blessing. I hope that at least it remains niche, and I don't know. I watch from the shore.